These videos posted to Facebook seem to show Chris Watts as a devoted father.
Hi YouTube family. Today I wanted to talk about Chris Watts because some new information came out recently about him being in a jail cell and under suicide watch. So he's despondent and he's sleeping a lot. I think he only gets out of his jail cell 1 hour a day to read a newspaper in the community room. And I'm not sure if they have a TV in that community room, so I guess he watches that if they do. But he has no TV in his jail cell, and all he has are 2 personal items. And what surprised me about one of those 2 personal items was one of them is a picture of his family. So that got me thinking and really perked up my my instincts or my interest, because I wanted to know why he is watching, looking at them and to remind himself every day of what he had done. But I don't think that he's actually thinking about what he had done. I think he's thinking about, well, actually, I can't even think about what he's thinking about. I can't get into a mind of a crazy person. So I'm not going to even go there. I wanted to talk about 2 scenarios that came to my mind about why he ended up doing what he did. We may never know why he did it. And there's so little information out there right now about any more reason about why he did it. But a few things came out that made me think that there are 2 particular scenarios that came to mind. And one of them was addressed in one of my first videos I ever made when I started my YouTube channel a month and a half ago. So when I started my channel, this story broke, and I saw this guy, Chris Watts, on television making talking to the news stations about his family and asking his family to come home. So I'm watching his body language and what he's saying, and it really occurred to me that he was talking the way a narcissist would. He was deflecting from himself any guilt. He was also, his body language kind of showed that he was lying and protecting something. And then he only talked about himself. He really didn't talk about the safety of his family. He talked about how he was feeling, and not even feeling about his family. He wasn't talking about how he felt about them being gone. He was talking about how alone he felt, or how empty the house felt. Anyway, so I did bring some of that out. One of the reasons I made that video also is because it had come out that he was having an affair. And I know that when a person is having an affair, it completely distorts their sense of reality because they're living in a fantasy world. When a person is in an affair, you're not showing your worst part, you're not showing your problems and daily troubles, and neither is your partner. You're coming together and you're both being as perfect as you can be and as exciting as you can be with each other. So you create this fantasy world that's just amazingly exhilarating. So I think that one of the reasons that he killed his family, and it could be that, it might not be, but one of the reasons could be that he was in this fantasy world and he wanted to extend that fantasy world and extinguish his reality. So in order to do that, he'd have to get rid of the people who are in his real life. And that could have been the motivation. Now, not everybody who has an affair is going to murder their family. So that's the danger of a narcissist's fantasy world. That's one of my videos too, is it's so dangerous being with a narcissist because their fantasies extend far, far beyond what normal people's fantasies are, because we stay somewhat grounded in reality and with the people who are in our lives, and we see them as their own entity. We see people with their own feelings and value, whereas a narcissist sees them as pieces on a chessboard. It's just a part in their life that they can bring in or take out. And anyway, so I do want to warn people about that. When you are with a narcissist, you have to be so careful because their reality can be so distorted. They live in a fantasy world, and that's explained in my other video about the narcissist's reality if you want to look into that. So I think that might have been one of the motivations, or the motivation behind why he did what he did to his family. Another motivation that occurred to me, I got because I was watching this clip, and I'm going to show it to you now. It's a very short clip, and then I'll explain it to you.
They had a disagreement.
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back.
You might have seen that laughing at the end of that interview there, or that little clip. That's part of the laughter that I was talking about. There was another time where he was smiling in the interview, which is insanity. But I wanted to say that they had an argument. Now, she comes home at 2 o'clock in the morning from a business trip, and he says that she ends up murdering their daughters at that point, which is ridiculous, because why would she come home at 2 o'clock in the morning? She's exhausted from all that travel and a business trip, and then she decides she's going to kill her children. No, that's impossible. So then he says that they did have an argument, and it's just a tiny little tiff. Well, what was in that argument? That's my question. So if they were arguing, I'm wondering, and I had also read that she had recently gotten a job that was paying her $80,000 a year. Now, if you didn't know, he had lost his job, or no, he was still working, but he had, I guess, lost a lot of his salary earlier on. They had to claim bankruptcy. He did have a job now, but it didn't really pay as much as he used to earn. So now she has a job that's paying $80,000 a year to add to his. I think he also was earning about that amount. So that would have completely dug them out of their financial problems, you would think, right? But they had this argument. Was this argument about her recognizing that maybe she knew that he had an affair? Maybe she threatened to leave. Maybe she was done with their marriage. And if that was the case, because, I don't know if you know, but I had read also that he was becoming more and more distant with her in their relationship and not hugging or touching her as much. So that shows you that he's pulling away from her and possibly towards the mistress, whoever he's having an affair with. Could also mean that, that's where she was recognizing that something's up and maybe realized that he was having an affair. So here she is. They may have had an argument because she was done. She has a job now that is going to take care of her and the kids, and she doesn't need to be tethered to him anymore. And if that was the case, and he was a narcissist, or is a narcissist, what a lot of people don't understand is a narcissist cannot be abandoned. They suffer incredible injury if ever people abandon them. They don't rebound as quickly as others. I mean, abandonment is a horrible thing to begin with. People don't react well to that, but narcissists will react violently to that. They will not be rejected. They will not be abandoned. They will not be the ones being left. So that's my other theory is I think that if he were a narcissist, and he does show a lot of signs of it, maybe that's what made him snap. But again, like I said, we may never know because nobody was there in that house other than Shanann, and her 2 daughters with him. So he may never come out and tell us. But right now he's in jail and he is depressed. He's despondent. He's sleeping most of the time, the 23 hours that he's in his jail cell. And he is looking at his picture of his family. We can only hope that one day we'll find out the truth so that we can make sense of what happened, so that we can learn to help people who are in that situation not to respond the way that he responded. Help them to see that there are other options so that there would be no victims like his wife and his daughters. Well, YouTube family, there is no happy ending here. And my words of advice and any encouragement from me really around this case has to do with education, becoming aware and being able to recognize a dangerous or abusive situation and People have said it before that if you are involved with a narcissist, you cannot confront them with an affair, for instance. You cannot come to them and tell them that you know what they're doing, and you cannot tell them that you're going to be leaving them, abandoning them. You have to be very careful. Get a plan. Talk to the people around you. Open up about what's really going on in your relationship. You know, so many people who have been murdered by narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, now their families, their relatives, their neighbors are all shocked because they didn't share with their closest friends, their families, their neighbors. They didn't share what was really going on inside the home. And I understand you don't want to go running around telling everybody all of your business, but when there's abuse, when there is this, narcissist will show some evidence of their character that will put you quite off. So share that with somebody. Make sure someone knows. And then when you're planning on leaving, make sure that you start a plan with other people to help you get out of there. And don't confront them in the middle of the night, or, she may not have had any choice there. He may have already set the wheels in motion, and he may have already committed the murders on their children. So I'm not saying that there was a possible way that she could have diverted this. I just hope that we can learn from this tragedy and recognize how to protect ourselves, as well as reach out to people and share our problems with our closest family and friends. Make sure that somebody knows what's going on in your relationship. So YouTube family, if you found this video to be helpful, please subscribe and like it and comment below. I would really appreciate that. And you take care of yourself. I wish you lots of peace, joy, and wholeness.